Hello and welcome to Find Your Freedom, a podcast dedicated to helping you truly find freedom in all aspects of life. Join your hosts and their expert guests as they share practical tips and strategies for finding more freedom in your life. It's time to take control of your life and create the future you want. Let's find your freedom. Here are your hosts, Lenny the Boss and Omid Rad Investor.
Boom, boom, boom. Hey, listen, man, we are back at Find Your Freedom. And this episode right here is a special one for me because this guy that we're bringing on right now, he's my brother, right? He's my brother from another, and the crazy part about it is my mother really loves this guy, right? On top of that, he's a family man. He's someone that he's a mentor to me and a mentor to so many people. He done taught well over 100,000 people, and I'm probably in the millions now. I don't even know, on how to find their freedom, and we won't get into that. He done spoke on so many different stages. I'm just so eager to get into this. So with that being said, I got my guy, which is going to be everybody else's guy, Mr. Greg Cesar. Greg, how you doing, brother?
I am doing good. Love that intro. You're making me blush over here.
Awesome. So Greg, man, before we unleash the greatness on everyone, can you give everyone just a background of who you are, man?
Yeah, so I am a guy who, when I went to college and thought I was going to work myself up the corporate ladder and be the CEO of a company somewhere. I mean, that was the dream. At my second job, I had a boss say to me, when I tell you to do something, you do it. And at that moment, I realized that I was unemployable, right? And a couple months fast forward from there, I was meeting with a client. The boss, he was with me. He did something that kind of embarrassed me in front of the client. I was like, that's it. That's the final straw for me. So that evening, I was dropping him off at the airport in Bradley Airport in Hartford, Connecticut. And I said to him, by the way, this is in the end of 1997, early 98. And I said to him, hey, before you get out the car, I got something I got to tell you. And he said, what? And I said, I quit. I'm out of here. I'm going to start a business on this thing everyone keeps talking about called the internet. So I had to go home that night and tell my wife that I quit my job. We're going to move in with her mom, and she's no longer a stay-at-home mom. So that was not a good day for me. I'm not going to lie to you. I was probably on the couch for like a couple of days. But I'm going to tell you what I learned. Now, I'm not going to recommend everybody go and do it the way that I did because it was not easy in those early days. But I'm going to tell you what that did for me. And for me, it was I burnt the ships. I landed on the shore and I burnt the ships. So I had a choice to make that day. It was either success or failure because the ship was gone. There was no plan B, right? And so I made a choice. I said, I'm going to choose success. So I started my business, and back then, I was getting people online, web design and things of that nature. And around 2003 timeframe, I decided I want to start selling products online. And it was for one reason. It wasn't so I can make money selling products. I wanted a way to go to businesses and say, well, why would you hire that web designer? They're not selling any products. They don't know what your issues are. They don't know, when you have traffic issues or it's not converting, they don't know. Why would you hire them? So the sole reason was so I can get more consulting clients. Except I got good at selling products. Accidentally, right? Since then, my customer database, people who purchased from me online, is probably about 175,000 people. There were days we were selling 200-300 clients a day, in a single day. And mind you, when you have automated income, I'm working probably 10 minutes a day to do that. So could you imagine, I was making more work in 10 minutes than I was making 6 months working in corporate America. And so from there, a good buddy of mine who is your cousin, Ty Cohen, one of his partners called me up and said, we're doing this little workshop here. Would you like to come and speak? And I'm like, you want me to come speak at your event? Sure, why not? And so I did that. And I mean, I was surprised that anybody wanted to hear what I was doing. And so I went there, and at that event, there was another gentleman who was there. It was like, wow, that was a great presentation. I'm doing another event next week. Do you want to come back and speak? And I said, okay, sure. So I go to the second event. At that event, there was 3 people at that event. One of them was like, hey, I'm doing an event in London. And I'm like, you mean across the ocean, London? And you see, and he was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I'll do that. Next thing you know, I'm speaking all over the globe, teaching people how to create wealth and build wealth. And so then I got into, doing webinars and trainings and stuff like that. So that's my journey, man. And it wasn't that I planned to become a speaker. It wasn't I planned to be doing webinars. I had a vision of being better than what I was. I took action, and then I followed the path that the universe put in front of me. Right? I had no intentions of being a speaker. I didn't even know that was in the realm of possibilities. But it put it in front of me, and it's like I tell my son, it's when you're prepared, things that happen in front of you, other people call that luck. But when you have that preparation, that's what makes luck happen in the right way for you. So I was prepared. I had a business. I was selling. I was learning. And people wanted to learn from me. When the opportunity dropped, I took advantage of it. So that's how I got to where I am today.
I mean, that's like super inspiring. I mean, I know there's a lot of listeners where they can relate to your story where a boss said something to them, it rubs them the wrong way. You get this feeling that you're, at any point you can, be fired or lose your job, and or you're disrespected and not fully valued. And so, like taking that first step, like walk us through even like just a mindset around just like, what would you tell somebody who's thinking about it but is hesitant because they love the security of having the job?
So I didn't even tell you guys, when I quit my job, I might have had $800 in the bank. So I also had no money. And also remember, in 1997, there wasn't podcasts like this that we can listen to and go learn. That didn't exist. So there is the fear. And I'm going to tell you what fear is. Fear is just lack of knowledge. If you know what you're doing, you don't have to worry about the fear. So the thing I tell people who are afraid is a couple things. 90% of what you need to be successful, you already have. And I'll give you an example. I was driving by the George Washington Bridge one morning, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was 50 degrees outside, and there was a homeless guy with a sign that said, hey, need money, need food, whatever the case may be. And my sons were in the car, and I said, you see, son, people who realize they're already doing the work that it takes to be successful. This guy was doing twice as much work to get $1 to go eat when he could have went across the street to the McDonald's and got a job, heat, and food. Why is he doing twice the amount of work than what it takes? So one of the things I've learned is, and this should help people with the fear, is what it takes to be successful, 90% of the skills you already have. In fact, you're already doing it for somebody else. You're working the job, doing it for somebody else. Why not do it for yourself? And here's the other thing I will tell you is this. When I worked in corporate America, when I did something that the company liked, you know what they said to me next month? What are you doing this month? I'm like, did you forget about what I did last month? Right? And good case in point, I am on this podcast with you guys today, right?
Yes.
When this podcast, you ever heard of the butterfly effect? It's, how one thing leads to the next, to the next, the next. When the butterfly effect started for this podcast? In 2005, when I got on the phone with your cousin Ty Cohen. So something I did more than 15, almost 20 years ago is paying me today. That's the difference of working for yourself. When you work for yourself, everything you do is exponential. Because if I get on a seminar or get on a plane and go to a workshop and I meet someone, that person will do webinars with me today, tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now. Whereas when I'm working for someone, and I bring them the biggest deal on the planet, I get paid for that one time. It's done. So I tell people, don't be afraid of going on your own, because everything you do pays you over and over. The only time you should be afraid is if you don't got the work ethic. If you don't got the work ethic, you need that job. But if you got the work ethics and you're willing to do the work, don't give your skills to somebody else. Give it to yourself.
Greg, man, like, once again, look, I had the opportunity to know you for a very long time, and every time I talk, you just blow my mind. Look, you clearly said, fear is just not knowing what to do, and just going out getting the information, you fear, the fear, falls off. I mean, that's just amazing. So, you're mentioning individuals, saying, hey, you already got the talent, you already got the skill, right? Obviously you jumped out the boat. You said, hey, I am done, boom, bam, boom. And a lot of people probably don't have the guts to sit here and actually jump out the boat. Like, what suggestions would you give them for them? They're thinking, this workplace is not working for me. What should I be doing right now to sit there and be able to sit there and jump out?
Okay. Number one is, I tell people, if you want to make real money, you got to find something to be good at. Whatever it is. Maybe you want to be a weight loss expert. Maybe you want to be a contractor. People who make the most money have some level of skill. And you don't have to be a super genius either. You just have to know more than the people you're selling to, right? So in other words, I always give people the example. If, the building's on fire, right? And there's smoke everywhere. And who is the expert? The person that knows where the door is. Now, you don't got to be, super skilled to open the door. You just got to know where it is, right? So you just have to know more than the other people that you're willing to help. Number two is, start paying attention to the problems that people have. People don't buy products. They buy solutions to problems. So what you've got to get good at is spotting, okay, what are the problems that people have? What are they looking to do? What are they looking to solve? What are they spending money on? Who are they already spending the money with, right? So once you start getting good with that, now you start to understand the marketing landscape. You understand, the value proposition of how people spend money. So when you decide it's time for me to go on my own, you've got that cushion because you got the knowledge, right? Now I quit with no knowledge. I should say I had zero knowledge. But I mean, I jumped out of a plane with no parachute, but I was willing to figure out that parachute, and I did, right? But imagine if I had already done my research, I knew what I was going to do, had an idea what I was going to sell, where would I be? So the other thing I tell people is very simple. You want to have the courage to quit your job? Pre-sell your product. So let's say you decide you want to go into, you want to sell ebooks on how to play golf. Okay, run an ad selling ebooks on how to play golf. Now, I know you can say, Greg, I've never played golf, and I don't even have an ebook to sell on how to play golf. Who cares? That's not what you're measuring right now. You want to measure, can I find the people who are interested in playing golf? What if 50 people email you and say, you know what? I want to buy that ebook from you. How do I buy it? Now you're going to say, okay, when I'm finished with it, I'll send you the link. I don't have it yet, but I'll send it to you. But doesn't that give you the guts to walk away from that job? Because you've already made the sale. I do that all the time. When I'm testing a market, people laugh, but you know how I test the market? I find the people who want to buy the product. Once I can find the people, does it matter what it costs me to make the product? No, I already found the people who will buy. See, most people, they try to sell a product first, and they guess. Then they say, I wonder why nobody's buying the product. If you didn't tell me you want to buy it, I'm not making it. Truth to God, I've run ads in the newspaper selling things I didn't have. And when I learned that people want it, wait now, dude. I'll say that one more time. I run ads selling things that I don't have. I got a website. You can take a look at secretsofalgebra.com. So I got the idea one day, I'm going to create a course on algebra. So on that website, it says, hey, we're about to finish this book. We got a little bit left to go. But before I finish it, I want to ask you a question. What do you want me to include in the book? And in the beginning, it says, like I said, we're in the final development. Guys, I don't even have the title of the product done. But guess what? I always say, when I do something like that, I'm looking for 15% of the people. And by the way, I say, hey, if you help me out, I'm going to give it to you for free just for helping me out. Just all you got to do is ask me the question. So typically I'm looking for, if I send 100 people to the page, I'm looking to get, 15% of them to give me a question. Because here's the reality. If I just promised you the product for free just to ask me a question and give me your email, if you're not willing to give me your email, what's the chance you're going to give me the credit card? 0. So if I get anything less than 15%, typically that tells me they're not excited enough about the product. Guess where I just found out? Don't create the product. The market, I'm going to tell you a secret. The marketplace is never wrong. See, marketers will do something and it's not working. Like, no, they want it. No, if they tell you they don't want it, they're not lying to you. They don't want it. So if you don't fill out the survey, you don't want the product. Why would I spend weeks creating a product that you just told me you don't want? You know what it costs me to do a survey like that? $10, $15. So I will run ads to sell something that I don't have to decide whether I should sell it or not. Now, I know you say, but what about the people who fill out the survey and they're waiting for whatever it is you promised them? There's a caveat. I say, I'll send it to you when it's done. If it ain't done, I got nothing to send you. Wow. And by the way, I'd rather have 15 people pissed at me that they didn't get what I promised for free versus I spent 6 months working on something and can't find 15 people to buy it.
I think that makes so much sense.
So I want to dig into that a little bit because I love your concept of like testing a market out and before you actually create a product. So what in almost identifying problems and then creating a solution. So maybe walk us through kind of like your thought process around how you determine what the problem is.
Good question. So there's a lot of things that I'll do to figure out problem. Now, after you do it for a while, you tend to get a real good pulse of the marketplace. So I'll give you a couple of things that I do. Number one, I look for what's already selling. And I look for people who are selling something successfully. And now a lot of people say, wait, you're going into markets where there's competition? Yeah, 100%. And then people ask me, why would you do that? It's for one reason, so I can copy. They've already did the work.
Yes.
They tell me what to sell. They tell me what price to sell it at. They tell me what the product should look like. They tell me what the autoresponder should have. They tell me where I should advertise it. They tell me what the keywords should be. They tell me everything. Wow. All I got to do is carve my slice of the pie. And most people are terrified of competition. Competition only means one thing. It's your price to entry. That's all it is. A market that's more competitive means it costs more to get in the market. Now, in the weight loss space, which is competitive, I can't sell a $10 product because it costs me $2 to get in the market. I got to sell a $100 product, right?
Yeah.
Underwater basket weaving, I can probably get in that market for 15 cents because nobody's in there. So I tell people, don't be afraid of the competition. Be afraid that you sell a product that can't sustain the competition. Okay?
Great. Listen, what you're saying is genius. Like, I mean, I hope that the listeners are all taking notes. I'm pretty sure a few of them pulled over or stopped their workout or whatever they're doing because, what you're telling them is absolutely, genius, man. I mean, so gee, like, let us know. All right, because I'm switching gears a little bit here.
Yeah.
All right, so we got Greg where he jumped out the boat, right? And His wife is looking at him like he's crazy, kicks him to the couch for a few weeks, right? And now, like when you kind of fast forward this story, what does your life look like today? Like tell us some things that by jumping out this boat you were able to do.
I'll tell you a story. So when I quit my job, we used to play a lot of basketball. And I started in the business. And I'm hustling and I'm grinding. And a lot of my friends used to call me up on Saturdays and they'd say, hey, let's go play some hoops. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm working on this business thing. I got to build it. So they used to tell me, oh, it's too good to hang with us. And I used to say, nah, I'm not too good to hang with you. I'm just grinding. I'm working on something. And I believe it's going to go somewhere. In fact, I invite you guys to come with me on this journey. No, you and your crazy ideas and this, that, and the other thing. So fast forward where I finally cracked the code and started by the way, I'll tell you something, cracking the code. I'm going to tell you something I tell my son. It is much easier to walk around the mountain than it is to move the mountain. Repeat that. It's much easier to walk around the mountain than it is to move the mountain. Most people, when they're trying to run a business, are trying to move that mountain to fit what they want to do and what they don't want to do. So when I started to make money, it wasn't the internet that changed to match what I want to do. I changed to match what the internet was doing. I walked around the mountain. I didn't try to tell everyone, well, I only want to work these hours. This is what you should buy. No, if you're buying at 3 o'clock in the morning, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sales. Right? So when I caught the code, the internet was still the same internet. It was me that finally changed. I finally started seeing things differently. So when I finally figured things out and money started coming in, I was making money on autopilot. I wasn't working hard for it. Well, now, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, I'm going to go play basketball. So now the same guys who used to tell me, oh, you're too good to hang out with us, now they're calling me up, oh, must be nice. Some people are so lucky they can play basketball at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday. So that's what life is like now, because now I got freedom. If I want to go play video games with my son, I can go play video games. If I want to go to the store, I can go to the store. If I want to say I want to go out tomorrow to get on a plane and go somewhere, I could do that. If I say I want to go make some money today, I could do that. If I want to watch TV, I could do that. Right? But here's the most important thing. Because of the knowledge, what I've learned over the years, if I want to print money, I could also do that. All I got to do is log into my email account and send an email. I could reach 50,000 people in the next 20 minutes. So now I've got the ability to print money. And I tell people, when you start, it's an uphill climb, right? Because one of the questions I get on webinars, they'll say, well, if I buy this thing, can I make my money back in 2 days? Mm-hmm. And I say, and here's the answer to that question I tell people. I say, I can do that. I don't know if you can, but I put the dues in. I built a mailing list. I can send an email to that mailing list and make $10,000 tomorrow. You don't have a mailing list yet. So it's an uphill climb until you get to the top of that mountain. And once you get on the backside of that mountain, boy, it's an easy slide all the way down that hill. Most people quit before they get to the top. That's the problem.
So I guess I have a question for that. So I think a lot of people, maybe they have a vision, they get involved in a business venture, and then at some point they are like, okay, I'm not successful. This is not working out. This is not for me. They revert back to go into like a W-2 or whatever they were doing before. What would you just say to somebody who's like, how do they overcome some of these challenges when it gets tough?
Okay, so hey, look, as an entrepreneur, you're going to have ups and downs. And it's not how well you handle the peaks, it's how well you handle the valleys. It's going to happen. You know what I tell people what failure is? That's another reason that stops people. You have to be before you know what kind of holds people back. Fear of failure is another one. Failure is not something you fear. Failure is part of the process. It's something you go through. There's no one who just got up to bat the first time and hit a home run. We all said, look, I could launch something today and it failed. Right? I'm not no hocus pocus magician. We get it wrong. But the difference is I understand it's part of the process. So out of the 10 things you do, 7 of them are going to fail. So what is your goal as an entrepreneur? It's to fail fast. Go through those 7 things as fast as possible to get to the 3 that work. Right? And you want to do that as cheap as possible as well. So how do you prevent some of that? And for, like you said, for people who, have that issue with it, they fail, pay attention to what people who are doing things successfully are doing. Everything you want to do, someone else has already done it. Everything you want to sell, someone else is already selling it. If, you ever hear people say, man, I got this idea to sell something. Nobody's ever heard of this before. You know what I tell those people? Run like hell. Listen, I'm a smart guy, but I'll be damned if I'm going to come up with something that nobody's ever heard of before. Really? There's no way. So, what I tell people, find what's already making money. Because again, like I said, they laid out the path for you. You think Apple was a genius when they created the iPad? No, they weren't. Because Apple had to convince people that you needed an iPad. Nobody heard of a tablet PC before that. And you know what? When it first came out, people were calling it the Maxi Pad. They were calling it all kinds of crazy names and making fun of it, right? But then Apple turned around and sold like 60 million units.
Yeah.
Then the real genius came out. You want to know who that was? Jeff Bezos. He said, well, God dang it. These Apple people just sold 60 million units of this dang thing right here. We need to create something. Let's call it a Kindle. Let's see. What are we going to put in Kindle? So they grabbed the iPad and said, well, it's got a camera on it. It's got a browser. It's got a keyboard. Let's put the same thing in ours. Right? So they were the genius. So the way that you avoid that is you got to sell what's already making money. Because if it's already making money, why would it not make money for you unless you're doing something that the successful people are not? So now you know it's not the product that's the issue. It's how you're selling it is the issue. So now I focus on the mechanics. Well, what am I doing wrong that they're doing? Is it my price? Is it the ad? Is it my sales letter? What is it that I'm doing that that person is not doing? I know they're making $1 million. So guess what? You know what the answer is? Go buy their product.
Wow.
Go buy it. Because when you buy it, what I'll do is I'll take out my screen recording software and I will record myself going through the purchase. And guess what? There's the sales letter that he or she is using.
Wow.
I can copy it. Then and I'll tell you another tip. So when I buy the product, typically I will get into their opt-in list with one email, and then I will buy the product with a different email. Because once you buy the product, once you get into their opt-in list, and then you buy the product, they take your name off the prospecting list. And once you're off the prospecting list, guess what emails you stop getting? All the emails that they're using to convince the people to buy. I want all your email. Oh, that's another one. People say, when I look at people who unsubscribe from my email list, so they'll come in, oh, you emailed me, I'm unsubscribing. Wait a minute, you want to know how to sell by email and you unsubscribe from an email that's selling you? Really? I tell people, don't you realize those emails are teaching you how to sell? And if I sent the email twice, you know what you just found out? The email that made money. Because the emails that don't make me money, I don't send them twice.
Gee, let me ask you, listen, because you're probably one of the most creative individuals that I know, right?
Yeah.
And there's a few things you have said, in the past that you do, which I admire to the utmost. And I'm going to screw this all up. All right, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to screw this all up. So you're going to take my screw up and I'm going to put this thing back together. So you do something once a week to get a creative edge, on your competition, right? Can you share, with the listeners what you do once a week to get the creative edge? Come on.
Is it okay? Hold on. Is it the going to the grocery store?
Creative something. It's called creative something.
Creative, Creative Friday.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, I ain't gonna lie to you. COVID put a hold on that one. Okay, no, Creative Friday. Every Friday for probably 4 years, I go to Starbucks. I bring my laptop. I go there 8 in the morning, and I'm there till 11, 12 every Friday. And the only thing that I am allowed to do at the Starbucks is creative stuff. Now, that might be I purchased a training, and so this is when I'm going to go through it. Or it might be, let me map out a new sales letter, or let me map out a new product. That's what I did. I put it on the calendar like it was an appointment with a customer in every single Friday. Now, COVID came and the Starbucks we went to shut down from, you can only order outside for like a year and a half, right? And it was small, so whenever COVID is going crazy again, I'm like, I'm not going next to those people. I'll do Creative Friday at home. But that's what I did. I put it on the calendar. And every Friday I went. So plus it helped me, when you work from home, it lets you get out the house and stuff like that. So I tell people, put it on your calendar, right? Maybe that's the time when you go through some course that you bought or whatever it is that you want to do. But when you do that and then you get used to it, and then there's the muscle memory. Yeah, I thought you were talking about going to the grocery store because I go to the grocery store every week. And people are like, really? You do the groceries? Yeah, I do. So I'll go to Walmart every week, Costco, and also Walgreens every single week. Now, people say, why the hell do you do that? Because I go down each and every aisle every single time I go. And my wife hates going to the store with me because I do that. So what am I doing and why am I going up and down the aisle? I'm looking at the empty shelf. Because empty shelf tells you demand. What are the people buying? Wow. There's 100%. So I'll give you an example. I was in the Walgreens, huge empty spot. Then I look at the price tag, and it was in the supplements area. $29 product. I said, wow, that's a very expensive supplement and for the shelf to be empty. So what is the product? CoQ10. I'd never heard of it before in my life. I go to Amazon and I take a look. And there's products on Amazon with 50,000 reviews, not sales, reviews for CoQ10. I said, oh my God. So I would never thought about it unless I saw the empty spaces on the shelf. So I do that each and every week because I'm keeping a pulse of what the marketplace is spending money on. Right? I tell everybody, that's easy. See, people think research has to be this crazy, complicated thing. Every one of us can walk up and down the aisle of a store. Right? You ever walk down a clothing aisle and then look at the sizes that have least amount of sizes than the others?
Well,
right? What are the sizes that typically you find least? And what I've been finding is really small sizes and really big sizes. What does that tell you? Weight loss. Because the bigger people are buying all the clothes, there's no more left. That tells me weight loss is a huge market. So paying attention to that, even though it has nothing to do with the clothes itself, what it did is it identified a problem for me. So yeah, man.
Full circle. Full circle.
So like, I want to get, I mean, you're very creative in the way you think, and I love that. And then the Creative Fridays. So I just want to dig into that a little bit because I think that a lot of people don't spend enough time reflecting. So maybe just walk me through kind of like one of the like best practices of using that time, or where you've generated, a business venture or business idea by doing this on a very consistent basis?
Yeah, if you look at one of my best-selling courses right now, which is my Amazon Profit System, that whole course was mapped out using Creative Friday. So from the webinar to the product itself, over the course of 2 or 3 Fridays, so I went to Starbucks, and the first thing I did was I mapped out my outline for the product. So here's what the different modules we want to do. Then I went back and then I mapped out, okay, under each module, here's what we're going to be teaching. One thing I didn't do at the Starbucks was do the recording. So those I did at home with my mic in my studio. But that whole process was mapped out in Starbucks. Many, many courses. And by the way, I'll let you in another secret. I go through a course almost every week. So people think, well, you're teaching people. You go through training. Yeah, absolutely. I say the day you stop learning, you stop living. So I still will buy training courses right now. I'm going through a bunch of courses teaching how to do Facebook ads and stuff like that. So I bought a bunch of courses on Facebook ads that I go through. So on Creative Fridays, there were some weeks where, okay, I've got 3 or 4 modules that I plan to go through that Friday. And then wherever I stopped, I would pause. And the next week I come back and I start right from there. The other thing that I would do is I got Office 365, the online version. So I always logged in online, and then I keep a note. So how people say they get information overload. So I have a file that I keep on Office 365, and I call it my tools login. And all it is every single product I purchased in the website address for the login, and the username and password. So no matter where I am in the world, I can have Creative Friday. The other thing that I do is to keep myself organized is I create categories on the Word document. So there are my Facebook courses and products. There's my YouTube courses and products. There's my graphics courses. I keep everything organized. So let's say this week I want to run a Facebook ad. I can easily log in there and say, okay, let me look at which one of the Facebook courses I want to review, because I got them nice and organized. The other thing that I do is I put a sticky note on my desk with the courses, and I put them in order of how I'm going to go through them. Because sometimes I'll buy a course and I'm not ready to go through it. But if I don't make a note that I got it, in 2 months I forgot I had the course. So I keep a sticky note on my desk that lists the course, and I'll order them in order of which one I want to go through, boom, 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 boom. So,
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt. I was going to ask you like a follow-up. A lot of people buy courses, but they don't end up like reading or like consuming it. What is like a best practice in order like for somebody who's like, oh, I bought this, I just haven't gotten to it, making time for it?
We all do it. I've got courses that I haven't gone through. And there's courses that I bought with zero intentions of going through them. And let me tell you why I bought those courses. It was somebody who was selling the course that I wanted to meet. And I said, fastest way to get in the door was to buy the course. Because once I'm a customer, you can't tell me no. All right? Once I'm a customer, you can't tell me no. So I bought courses. And by the way, I signed up for a coaching program, 2004, I think it was. It was $5,000. I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't cheap. That $5,000 probably turned into $250,000 in sales. Because I became friends with the guys who put out that course, but I had to buy my way in. Okay. So the thing is, just keep a folder of your courses and keep a notepad of what what you purchased. And the other thing is, there's no such thing as information overload. I'm gonna be honest, because you know what I tell people? This is not my hobby; it's a craft, right? Do you think Tiger Woods has information overload on golf? Let me ask him: do you want to be on a plane with a pilot who had information overload in the simulator? No, my friend. You better be in that simulator and letting everything you can about flying. Same thing. You want to be having heart surgery with a doctor who felt he had information overload on heart surgery? No. If you're serious about what you're doing, it's not a hobby. It's your craft. In other words, you need to learn everything you can. If you don't fall in love with the process, because see, people are so in love with the arrival In other words, they're in love with, I want to make $1 million. I want to live all this lifestyle. That's not what's going to get you there. You have to fall in love with the journey to get there. Because once you fall in love with the journey, you don't care what the results are. Right? See, I fell in love with marketing. Loved it. Loved learning marketing. And I didn't understand this when I first started because people used to say, do what you love and money is going to follow. I didn't understand what that meant. Now I understand what that means. What that means is when you doing what you love and you're falling in love with the journey, you're going to read one more ebook. You're going to go to one more seminar. You're going to reach out to one more person. You don't care what the results are. You're going to do it because you love doing it. You know what happens? You get to a point, you're at the top of that mountain. It's top of that mountain. Right? Like right now, there's a million guys I can call and say, hey, I need a favor. Send an email to your list form. But I fell in love with going to one more seminar, meeting one more person and doing all that. The rest of it was going to come. I wasn't focused on the end result. I was more focused on the journey and loving the journey to get there. So I tell people, fall in love with the journey. You're not going to be worried about, whether you failed or this didn't work or that didn't work because you're not doing it for the success of the failure. You're doing it because you love it.
Man, G, listen, the journey, ladies and gentlemen, that's why you're doing it. That the journey, to be clear, is between the starting point and the end point is the journey. Gee, it sounds like we definitely got to have you back, dude. Like, there's so much value that, you provide, but we ask every friend of the show, what does find your freedom mean to you?
First of all, freedom is not a choice, it's your right. It's your right. Everybody deserves it. And there is an abundance of it out there. If you didn't get it, you just didn't go get it, right? What do they say? The fruits of the tree are out on the limb. You got to be willing to go get it. Sometimes people don't realize that the freedom is right there, but more importantly, they don't realize how easy it is to get that freedom. They think it has to be hard. They think it has to be complicated. So I will tell you this. What does it mean to find your freedom? Like I said, it's your birthright to go find that freedom, right? And don't listen to people who tell you no. So I'll give you an example. Do you know I had the opportunity to get Bitcoin when it was $400? You want to know why I didn't get Bitcoin when it was $400? I told somebody about it. They put in like $100 into Bitcoin, and it went to $350. The guy says to me, I knew this Bitcoin stuff was a scam. Then Bitcoin shoots to $70,000. So, what was the mistake that I made there? I listened to someone that I had no business listening to. I listened to a broke person. And I don't mean broke, physically broke, but broke making me broke. And the biggest prisons in the world are not the ones with cells, it's the mental ones that we create. Those are way more powerful than any cell can ever be. So I listened to a guy who I had no business listening to. So if you want that freedom, don't go to someone who doesn't have freedom and ask them, what do you think about it? Go to someone who's free. My son said to me one day, I want to be a pilot. I said, well, son, I'm probably not the guy that you want to ask about that because I hate flying. I said, but why don't you go across the street to our neighbor Mike, who's a senior captain for Delta, and ask him what his thoughts are? Because he could tell you really what it's like to be a pilot. So when you're free and then you come home and ask your wife or your significant other or your brother, hey, I'm thinking about doing this business so I can become free. You know what they're going to tell you? The same thing my friends used to tell me. You think you're too good for us. You think I told Ty this recently. I said, you want to know what a rich person is never going to say to you? They're never going to ask you, why are you doing that with your time or your money? Have you ever heard of a rich person calling somebody else cheap? You know why they don't? Because they don't care what you do with your money, because they're free. So you want to be around those kinds of people. So to get to that freedom, start surrounding yourself with people who are already doing what you're doing. Because what they do is going to rub off on you. But more importantly is you're going to see what freedom is and what it really means. Because right now you got an idea in your head what it means to be free. But when you really see someone, you start going to workshops and seminars where people are going to, and you see this guy or that gal who's always on a plane somewhere. They're always going somewhere. You're like, damn, I want some of that. So guess what that does? That motivates you. And then you say, okay, I'm going to do what it takes. Now, to do what it takes, you've got to go out and, model after what they do. And I'll tell you, there's 4 things if you want freedom. You ready for it? It took me 20 years to figure this out. If you want the ultimate in freedom and success, I've been able to boil it down to only 4 things that you've got to get good at and focus on. Number 1, who you know. No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. That's number 2. Number 1 is what you believe. If you don't believe you can do it, it ain't going to happen. Right? I'm going to tell you what. I don't want to get on a plane with a pilot who doesn't believe he can land. Not a plane I want to get on. So, you have to believe that you can do it. You have to believe that it's something you deserve. That's number 1. Number 2 is who you know. None of us have gotten to where we are today by ourselves. Right? So you've got to meet people that can mentor you and shortcut the process for you. Sure, you can try to figure it out on your own, but it's going to be a long, hard road. Number 3 is what you know. You got to learn something. You got to learn what a squeeze page is. You got to learn how to create an opt-in page. You got to learn what a sales letter is. You got to learn something. Now, doesn't mean you got to do the work. I can always get somebody else to do the work for me. And by the way, I prefer to get somebody else to do the work for me. My wife thinks I'm lazy. And I'm like, I don't outsource because I'm lazy. I outsource because it guarantees the work's going to get done. Right?
That's lazy.
I bought a screwdriver set and I came home with it. And finished the day, bro. I mean, what the hell are you going to do with that? I don't do any work. So after it's what you know, it's what you do. Doesn't matter what you believe in. Doesn't matter who you know. It doesn't matter what you know. If you're not going to do anything, none of it matters. Those are the only 4 pieces that will determine the level of success that you have. And that's all you got to focus on. Now, everything else falls under there and it almost solves itself, right? Because as you get to know people, you believe, you learn stuff, guess what? Now I know how to write an ebook. Now I know how to get sales. Now I know how to do a webinar, right? So those 4 things you focus on, I promise you, it's going to change your life. It took me 20 years to figure out that's what it was. I used to think it was, people are lazy, bad work ethics. That's not what it is. It's just those 4 things. You focus on those 4 things and you can turn your life around.
Man, I feel like we're going to continue this conversation forever. We're concluding, this. And I love everything that you said. I mean, the 4 things for freedom, like belief, really just like a mindset piece. Who you know, kind of, getting your foot in the door, and even your story of how maybe you buy a course just so you can get to know somebody that will open up some doors for you. And then, what you know and what you do with it and taking action. So I love that. So I guess for the listeners, they want to get a hold of you. They want to find you and, want to hear more. And definitely we got to get you back. How do we connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. We are in the process of rebuilding our site. It's GregCesar.com, and Cesar is CESAR.com. So they can definitely go there. We're going to have, all our products and social media and all that fun stuff, so they can find me there.
Great, man. Fantastic. So one of the things you got to promise, right, when you come back, because it's something you left out, I thought you were going to bust out on it, the rap career, man. You got to tell us about the rap career, and you got to bust a fat one for us.
Well, you want me to tell you the story, how that got started?
Real quick.
This really fits into everything we talked about today, right? It's the belief in yourself. And anything somebody else can do, I can do it as well. I was in high school, and a buddy of mine called me up, and he says, hey, man, I just bought some turntables, and I'm thinking about creating a rap group, making some beats and creating a rap group. He goes, do you know anybody who could rap? I said, what do you mean do I know anybody who could rap? You ain't know I rap. I rap. Die. And the only thing I know how to rap was Christmas gifts. So that night, I got off the phone with him. I said, oh my God, why I get myself into this time? So what did I do? I needed to learn how to rap really fast. So at that point in time, Big Daddy Kane was my favorite rapper at the time. So I went out and bought all of Big Daddy Kane's CDs. Well, at those times, I don't want to date myself, it was cassette tapes. So I bought the cassette tapes. Then I was on a little radio, I could play and pause. And I took this top song, took out a pen, and I wrote them all out by hand. I would listen to them and write them out by hand. Listen to it, write it out by hand. And then once I did that, the next thing I did was I took the song and I said, let me rewrite them into something else. And I would go in and change them and make my own version of those songs. Swear to God, that's how I learned how to rap.
Wow. All right. Well,
Wow.
the next time we have you on, Greg, because we definitely will, you're going to have to sit there and to sing that first rap song that you created.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So one of the things we love to do is we love to do a boom session, right? So 1, 2, 3, boom. So the objective here is to bust out some speakers. Objective here is to sit there and stop people from working out because we're just so loud in their ear. So, y'all guys ready?
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. On three. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Listen here, man. You just had the great Greg Cesar, which is coming back, but you do not want to miss this one. You do not want to miss the 4 things on how you become free, because it's your right to be free. Okay. Now, we need some help from you. We need Jim to sit here and make sure that you listen to our episodes and leave us an honest 5-star review. Also, make sure that you download, make sure that you share with your cousin, your brother, your sister, your mother, your aunt, your uncle. Hey, just take the link and email it to everyone in your email box. So with that being said, until the next episode, we talk to everyone soon. Peace.
Peace.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Find Your Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, please help us spread the word by leaving a rating and review and sharing the podcast with friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, get out there and find your freedom.